Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at the dev server again, because Gaijin has updated it and added a few new vehicles. The first one being this, the Type 10 prototype for Japan, which is pretty cool, and means that Japan won't just get a PT boat this update. You can see it's actually coming after the Type 87 and 89 line, which is kind of odd, but they've started to do this with a bunch of different lines now. With the Chinese, you have obviously these two, and then also on this side, you obviously have the HSTVL and the Bradley. They've moved around some of the British stuff as well, so they're trying to make, lines independent, but also mean that you get access to MBTs a little bit easier. So what's the difference between this and the Type 10? There's not a lot. You can see here the visual differences. Obviously, the Type 10 has this additional armor on it, whereas the prototype doesn't. Basically, this is like the Tinder picture, and then this is what you see in real life. And the other difference is through modifications. So instead of the JM33 and then also the Type 10 round for the Type 10, the prototype only gets the JM33 at rank 3. So this is going to be another vehicle which is an end-of-the-line vehicle where it's going to be incredibly hard to get the JM33 round. I struggled through the good old Type 90s when they were end-of-the-line. With the Type 90 specifically, and the B, to be able to get access to the JM33 round, and all I've got to say is grinding through rank 1, 2, and 3 to get this round is incredibly annoying. It's one of those which is one of the toughest grinds in the game to do, especially since you know how powerful the vehicle can be with it when you don't have it. So once you get the round, you become a god, which is why these Japanese vehicles are pretty fun, but also at the same time do pose a few issues. So, looking at the armor, it does actually have the armor on the front of it, the composites on the front. It just doesn't have any armor on the sides, whereas if you have a look at the Type 10, you have like all of this additional stuff here, which kind of rolls in. So instead of that, you just have the standard composite armor in the upper glacis and also the turret itself. You have the same factors pretty much all over the place. So the targeting speed is the same. The vertical speed isn't as good as other vehicles, but it's generally fine. The autoloader of 4 seconds, with of course the first stage ammo storage in the back of 14 pieces, the 3-man crew, 2 in the turret, and then 1 of course in the back here, and then of course the 50 cal on the top, which is very highly mounted, meaning that you can hide the whole vehicle and people can still see you. It does keep the smoke launchers, surprisingly, on the side. It just literally misses out those external areas here. Now, a lot of people probably noticed something that is also very different, and that's the BR. This BR thing right now is 10.3, which puts it lower than the Type 90s, and all I've got to say is don't trust that. That will change. If this vehicle doesn't change in its current iteration, it will not be 10.3, because this is an 11.3/11.7 vehicle easily, so don't worry yourself about that. The engine is exactly the same on the vehicle as well, 1200 horsepower, meaning that you can go forward at 70 and backwards at 70. Would be nice if, it had the standard 1500, but it's still fine. It's got good acceleration, especially after some of the changes. And then, of course, it's full of ammo if you want it to be. Has the stabilizer, has the thermals. In terms of thermals, the vehicle has thermals for the gunner and also the tank commander, which is quite nice for it, so you don't have to worry about that at all. It does have the LWSLR, so you know when you're being locked onto, which is super good. And then, of course, the artillery smoke and all that good stuff. So the vehicle joins a, I suppose, anemic area for Japan. There has been a lot of askings towards trying to get more and more vehicles in this area, and honestly the way to do it is through prototypes, and I know this is gonna be pretty rough for people, but that's basically how you sort this out. So Type 10 prototypes, Type 90 prototypes, Type 16 prototypes, as they've already done, and then just keep doing stuff like that. It's a way of being able to double the amount of vehicles with very minimal effort, and maybe slightly changing them here and there, which is what they've done with the Type 16. Now, there's 3 variants of the Type 16, and really the only difference between them is the round. Whereas this gets the Type 93 round, the Type 16P and FPS only gets the M735. There are slightly different modular differences as well, but we're not talking about crazy stuff, and that's what they're doing with the Type 10 prototype. They're not giving it the Type 10 round. Instead, they're just giving it the DM33, and everything else is pretty much going to be the same. And this is how, you know, you solve Japan's issues. This is how it's dealt with and gone forward with. And there's going to be some people who are going to be annoyed because it's not, you know, unique, it's not different, it's not interesting to them. But the other option is you have lineups which just don't have full vehicles in them, and, you know, you're going up against nations which do. You can see the thermals, incredibly good. The optics overall are pretty decent too. It also has a scoop, but the scoop right now doesn't work. I'm sure it will, showing that the vehicle is unfinished. But as any Japanese main will tell you, or anybody who's played a lot of the high tiers of Japan, the autoloader on something like this is just fantastic to use. And then also the amount of damage you can put downstream is really nice on the vehicle. It isn't as mobile as some of the other MBTs that you'll find, but it's generally okay. And also at the same time, having the LWSLR is super useful for the vehicle itself. Being able to just hammer rounds over and over and over again is super good, and something that I really enjoyed about the Type 90. This vehicle doesn't have the best armor. The armor technically would be nice if it was slightly better, but you have to try and work on your mobility, and then also at the same time you have to use your gun to be able to get into a position, bang, 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 and just keep firing over and over and over again. That's the way that this vehicle is supposed to be played. It isn't one which is going to be tanky. It's not something like a Soviet vehicle. It's not like another vehicle. Instead, you just got to get in, get out, and then just keep moving around, which is going to work really, really well. But at the same time, it's not always going to be different people's playstyles. I like this vehicle a lot. I like the Type 10s a lot. I like the Type 90s a lot. And I hope people appreciate it. And hopefully, at the same time, what will happen is people will have a good time with it. This is the future of the Japanese tech tree, along with maybe a few other nations that might be gracing us in the future. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Juan the Panda, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Bareen, Peter Grayling, Alan Hacker, Sem Alslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R., and also Lafouche for supporting the channel.